Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living. Welcome to today's episode of Wisdom Talk Radio. This is where we explore the depths of conscious living and what it truly means to live an expanded life. Join us to be inspired, encouraged, maybe even transformed, and certainly to tap into a deeper sense of joy and of possibility. What I have to say is the illusion of separation impacts us on so many levels. Why is judgment of someone else as other so prevalent? What's the truth? What really is the truth of our existence in relationship to our place in the world and everyone else's as well? This is an episode you're going to want to stay tuned for. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute, home of the quantum connection process. I say quantum connection because you can go there to discover your unique connection with the essence of who you are by taking the quantum connection quiz. And this is really, we can say we're each unique, and we are. We have a unique expression of who we are. And yet there are styles or archetypes of how one connects with the universe. And taking that quiz can start you off in that direction, because knowing your own archetypal style will help you to connect more deeply with the universe. And really, that's the secret to creating what you want in your life. Because who you are is who is needed. So my guest today, Anton Grosz, was born into a Jewish but profoundly, as he says, atheistic family. He denied anything religious for the first half of his life. In 1978, at the age of 37, he discovered spirituality through a near-death experience, going through a tunnel into the light and experiencing a reality different and greater than anything he had ever thought possible. Since then, he has devoted his life to studying different spiritual paths, leading meditation practice, and helping those at the end of life. He has a PhD in the evolution of human consciousness. I mean, that's what we're all about. So I'm so excited. His latest book is Handbook for a New Consciousness: The Next Step in Human Evolution. Welcome, Anton, to Wisdom Talk Radio. We're going to have a conversation.
Well, thank you, Laurie. I appreciate the invite and so glad to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Great. Okay, so let's dive into the deep end, shall we?
Sure. Why not?
Why not? This is a big question, though, and we could probably spend the entire time on it. However, how would you describe consciousness?
Well, it is who I am, what I am, the feeling of I am, pure existence. We each think we know who we are. And if you say to someone, can you tell me about yourself? Mm-hmm. Everyone says, well, I am. And then they add the adjectives: male, female, black, white, old, young, rich, poor, blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that makes us unique. But the thing is, everyone starts with, I am. And when they say that, that's the truth. Everything that's added after that are just adjectives that make us different from each other. How boring it would be if we were all the same, right? But at our basic core, the oneness inside each of us the oneness inside all things, which are live, whether we think they are or not, is the oneness that created the universe, that is the source of it all. And this is what the quantum physics world is finally beginning to discover. How exciting! Religion and science are finally going to agree on something, on the oneness of the universe.
It's true. It's true. And it's been a long time in coming.
Oh, absolutely.
So, so that I am presence, which is how I think of it.
Yes.
Is it really new? I mean, you talk about a new consciousness, and I'd really love to get a kind of sensing of how you're thinking about that and why you're calling it that.
Well, you know, I call it new consciousness not because it didn't exist before.
Mhm.
And certainly, I, Anton, did not come up with the idea.
Mhm.
But it is something that humanity is not yet aware of. I mean, there was a time when we were certain that everybody was going to fall off the end of the earth
Mhm.
if they sailed out too far, right? And for goodness sake, Laurie, I mean, back in the 15th century, if you come back there with me for a moment and let's take a look up at the sky, and we can see without the slightest question that Earth is in the center of this whole thing, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the stars go around us at night, and the moon at night, and the sun during the day. I mean, there's no question you can see it, and seeing is believing, right? And then this guy, Copernicus, comes up with this crazy idea that Earth rotates, and all of a sudden, something that has been there but no one ever thought about
Mhm.
becomes the new reality, and now everything is put in a new perspective. And that's how I view this new consciousness. So I
Mhm.
call it new, not because it hasn't been said for millennia, all right, from religious masters of all faiths, all continent. Jesus said it. I am the way. John 14:6 could also have been translated, I am is the way. He didn't speak English, you know. He
Mhm.
spoke Aramaic.
Subject to translation.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. The kingdom of God is within you. You know, Luke 17:21. These, were all things that were said, and of course, Buddhism, Hinduism, native, indigenous peoples' beliefs all point to this fact.
Mhm.
But humanity does not yet realize it, and because of that, we treat each other inhumanely. I've come up with this little thing of what if there were eyes on the end of the fingers, right?
Okay.
And they looked out and they saw the thumb and they said, "You stupid thumb coming from all the way over there, take that."
Mhm.
And they scratched the thumb and the thumb got infected and the infection went back into the hand and back up into the fingers. Would the fingers have attacked the thumb if they knew they were connected and that attacking the thumb would infect them? I don't think so. Shouldn't we be as smart as our fingers?
Well, that really is an interesting position, because if we look at humanity, humanity is doing that. The humanity is attacking the thumb, and it is
Absolutely.
destroying things. It is causing great harm and great suffering.
Oh my God, can you believe? I mean, let's even forget about what we're doing to each other, right? In the name of oneness in God, I find it so difficult that people fight each other because of different ways of praying
Mhm.
to to the oneness.
Right.
We both believe in that, but we pray in different ways and kneel
Oh my
on different
goodness.
knees. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But I can't think of any other species that is harming the very planet on which we live. No other species puts plastic in the oceans. No other species puts gases in the atmosphere.
Mm.
I mean, Laurie, I'm sorry to go on like this, but you got me going right from the get-go. Um, I was just absolutely amazed when you think about the fact that animals breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, and plants breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. Oh my God, what a fantastic system. Who could have thought of that?
Exactly. I mean, it sounds like it's a miracle, right?
It sounds like it, but yet humanity is killing off rainforests and getting things so that we can have more beef to eat.
Yeah. So we are struggling,
Oh
if
my
you want to look
God.
at it that way.
Yes.
And I love that you are addressing this in bringing forward this new consciousness, or just bringing forward consciousness, because
Yes.
that's indeed, it's like, how do we as a society, how do we as humanity begin to more quickly, because it is happening. It is absolutely happening.
Oh
It's
yeah.
one of the reasons I do this show. It's one of the reasons I do the work I do, for of course.
Hmm.
And yet there's something that it's needing to be amplified.
Well, it's a case of of seeing the problem. Apparently, humanity, see, we unfortunately we have evolved to the place where we have free will.
Mhm.
All right. Um, I mean, imagine. I love the concept of evolution. The
Mhm.
the level, the huge leap. I mean, there was a time when rocks were the most evolved being on the planet, and the huge leap to plants who can turn and face the sun. They don't think about it. Oh my, I'm going to. They don't have that level brain, but they turn the relationship. They reach for water.
Mhm.
What a what an evolutionary step from rocks who just sit there stoned, so to speak. You know, um, and then animals. But we have reached the place, and will follow instinct, and some of them even, group mind, what Rupert Sheldrake called morphogenetic field,
Mhm.
right?
He's been
Uh,
on the show.
oh, really? Oh my goodness! I mean, how else do swallows get to Capistrano if they've never been there before, except that the group mind says,
Mhm.
here we go, Um, But humanity just doesn't do that. And we are just so into our own self, me,
Mhm.
instead of us, the oneness. And when I had my near-death experience, I had a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. But one of them was, if when I leaned one way, I was in the room, and when I leaned the other way, I went back into space and saw Earth come down
Mhm.
into a tiny little ball, which became a yin yang symbol. And I suddenly understood how everything is balanced. And if you think about it, humanity at this point is not working together in the center of this balanced field, but we are separated out at such extremes
Mm.
that you have extremes on one side and extremes at the other, but there is still that balance. So at some point, we may get so far apart that the realization will come to us, my God, if we don't work together, we will destroy the very planet on which we live.
It's so interesting to me that because I really that separation, that those differences are really an illusion. In this country, there's such a focus on the individual that if we give up the individual, if we think about community, we're doing something that's just so awful and untoward towards what we should be
Right.
that we never get past that. We seem never to get past that. If we start from that place of course we're connected, of course we are one, then the teaching, the shift, the evolution is about the recognition of that, the becoming more conscious or more aware of that.
Of course, then you see, you use your skills, talents, abilities for the good of all, not
Hmm.
just for yourself. There are people who have so much more money than they could ever use, could ever need. It's embarrassing to think about that
Hmm.
when there are others who are going hungry, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not going to mention names. We're not
We
getting
don't need to.
political here.
We
We
don't need
don't
to.
need we don't need to. If we're going to mention names, you can go first. But
Okay, and then we'll have a list.
okay, we don't need to. But it's so obvious.
Hmm.
How much do I need? I don't. Um, Joy comes from within. I mean, I've seen this stupid bumper sticker on the back of cars. The one who dies with the most toys wins. Have you ever seen that?
Hmm.
My God, as if that's
What do we win?
well, I had more than you did.
Hmm.
The whole point of thinking that is important.
Hmm.
Um, this is where indigenous people, they understood it much more than we do,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
That they had their group, their tribe, their councils of who worked together, and of course it was run by council of elders. I
Hmm.
don't know about you, but I would qualify to be
Me too.
a member of the council of elders. You know, which doesn't mean that you never got anything wrong. It means that, oh, I got it wrong and I've learned from it, so let's not
Hmm.
do it again.
Exactly.
But I think, Laurie, if I could put it down to one thing, it's that we have created a new God, and that new God is money.
Hmm.
That the more of it I can get, the better I'm doing, the more successful I am, and the more, positive I can think about me.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think it's that. I think it's the more I can find joy within myself and help others, the better it is. I have three rules of life, Laurie. Rule one, be happy. Rule two, be kind. Rule three, that's it. If you're happy on the inside and you're kind to others on the outside, what else do you need?
So I want to use that as a segue into how becoming more conscious not only bridges, but is the connecting point between what we think of in that old way as the of the intellect and that
Hmm.
linear way of viewing the world, and not just intuition, but our own connection to source, our own inner guidance system.
Well, this is why, you see, I believe, yes, I wrote this book,
Mhm.
but I don't believe that you can learn anything by hearing someone talk about it
Yes.
or by reading their words.
Hmm.
I think you have to experience it.
Yes.
That's why I like the aha concept. And that's why what I do differently is, as I said, I don't say anything different in terms of the connectedness of humanity or the oneness of all life that has not been said by masters in the past.
Hmm.
Done is come up with a series of games, exercises, puzzles,
Hmm.
and so forth to allow people to experience it for themselves. I am a phenomenologist,
Hmm.
the science of experiential reality. It ain't enough to just hear it.
No. Then it's
Oh,
about. Then it's just simply
and
about.
that's right. You can know about something, but to know the thing, you
Hmm.
have to experience it.
Yes.
Um, and I can tell you an interesting story, or at least it is for me. I hope you find it interesting. From my college days. When I think back, I really wasn't that great a student back then. But one of the key things that happened to me was one day there was a sign. I was walking in, on campus, and psychology experiments, $5, and $5 back in the 1960s. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
you know. So I went to do it, and with a bunch of grad students who had theses and who needed,
Hmm.
some documentation and so
They
on.
needed subjects.
They needed subjects. So we get the kid walking on school, and the last room I went into, there were five tables or panels set up with uh, dividers between them, sort of like on Jeopardy,
Hmm.
right? But you can't see what's on the next one next to you, and red and green light and push buttons underneath them, and there were four other students, and I walked in, and one of them said, "Oh, here's the fifth one. We can get started." And there was a professor in the corner, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to push the red or green button, and each of you push the one that lit up,
Hmm.
the button underneath it. And we'll keep going. It'll get faster and faster until somebody misses. And then we'll stop." So it turned, the first one, it's red, I push red. Next one is green, I push green, green, red, boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, beep, there's a buzzer, and it says somebody missed, and the fellow on the end of one of the students said, "Who pushed red?" I said, "I did." He said, "You're wrong. It was green." I said, "No, it wasn't. It was red." He said, "Look, mine was green, and the professor said that they'd all be the same." I said, "Well, mine was red." And the woman next to me said, "Well, mine was green." And we started. Don't tell me what I saw, what I experienced.
Mm.
And he said, are you calling me a liar?" Well, we started at each other.
Wow.
Right? Actually, it was going to get physical, and I suddenly felt my arms pulled back, and I was held, and it was the professor. And he said, "Easy, son." He said, "This was not about how fast you can move. Yes, it was red. You pushed the correct one. This was about how someone stands up to peer pressure and how you stop through your own belief. You
Mm-hmm.
did very well here. Take this shit, go out and get your $5. You're done."
Hmm.
Well, I was steaming, but I forgot about it because it was just, I was angry until 30 years later,
Hmm.
20 years later, whenever it was, when I had the experience of going through the tunnel, into the light,
Ah,
experiencing a greater dimension than I could have ever thought possible. And then people saying, oh, no, 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 you just imagined that. No, I did not.
mhm, mhm.
I experienced it. And I did, after my first book came out, which was called Letters to a Dying Friend, a Tibetan, a Western version of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, with the Dalai Lama actually wrote an introduction. How sweet was that? But the people would call in and say, you know, I had an experience like that once, but when I told my family, they said, oh, stop it, you're making that, and I forgot about it.
Exactly.
And it's, we don't let it believe. We believe that everything out there has to be proved.
Mm,
Science could prove it. In fact, let me take you all the way back, if I may,
mhm.
to my very beginning with, you know, when you said I was Jewish atheist, they were devout Jewish atheists. This is how I could describe it. My grandfather sat me on his knee. I was 6 years old, and he said, God is the sum total of man's ignorance. We used to believe that the sun was God. Then we learned how the sun works. Someday, mankind will know how everything works. There'll be no need for God at all.
Hmm,
Now, when you're
hmm.
6 years old, you believe your grandfather,
Absolutely.
especially because he's the loudest one and wins all the arguments at the dinner table, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So how could I not? You know?
Yeah.
So so
Until you had your experience.
absolutely, it absolutely. I mean, my mother, his daughter, even said to me, if there were a God, which there isn't,
Hmm.
if there were a God, I'd spit in his eye for what he allowed to have happen to the Jews in the Second World War.
Hmm.
So I was taught from the very early age that there was not a God, but if there was, he's a nasty SOB to
Hmm. He
begin with.
doesn't listen. He doesn't
He
care.
doesn't, you know, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
You know, the friend, my little playmate, Beverly, she says to me, you know, we're in kindergarten, she's, you know, we're talking, there is no God. Yes, there is. You know, I go to church every Sunday. She said, how would you know not to kill people if God didn't tell you? I said, Beverly, I just know that it's wrong. You know,
Mhm.
I don't need God for that to tell me that. It's just incredible. And you know, then I went through the tunnel into the light, experienced something greater than I could have ever imagined. There is a world that is not out there, that's
Mhm.
inside,
Mhm.
and you can't prove it. And science is says everything has to be out there. If you can't prove it, it doesn't
Well,
matter.
you know,
Until quantum physics. Quantum
right,
physics is changing that.
right. No, I have a dear friend who is a research scientist and has been for all of his life. And he researches consciousness. So we'll say that. But he's also researched, I mean, really been in the traditional, hospital research settings. And he once said to me, he said, science has not caught up to what our own experience is. It doesn't have the
Absolutely.
resources, it doesn't have the machinery to be able to test for that. So we have to recognize that science just is in a different place than what our own internal experience is.
Brilliant. Well, this is exactly why old-fashioned science was so antithetical to religion and the concept of faith.
Yes.
Faith, prove it to me. Well, I can't prove to you that, you know, that there's a guy with a long, big beard sitting up there, somewhere, you know. Well, I personally don't think it's a guy with a big beard
Right, exactly. Sitting up there
sitting
outside
up
of
there.
us.
But
Yeah.
the thing, let's face it, if God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omnipotent, he's inside everything, including us.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. If we turn inside and experience, we're back to where we came in, aren't we?
We
I
are.
am that feeling that what you feel when you say I am and what I feel
Hmm.
when I say I am is the exact same thing. The adjectives are different. The things that make us unique are different.
Hmm.
But at the very, very core, we are the same. Now, why don't we just hold on to that and sit
Hmm.
in caves and do nothing for
Okay.
our life?
Yeah.
Well, there were a lot of people who did that and so on. Um, maybe Sri Aurobindo, for one, the Indian avatar who founded California Institute of Indigo Studies, or actually Haridas Chaudhary, his disciple, founded it, and that's where I got my doctorate. He said, it's not enough just to reach that point
Right.
inside and recognize the oneness,
Hmm.
because then you just sit there and so what? You
Yeah, there's
know,
no creative intelligence being
no,
used.
exactly. So the key is to take that
Hmm.
and now turn it around and put it out there into the world, become an example of what that oneness does. Don't disappear, you know.
Yeah. There's no real truth in that because
That's
it's passive.
that's right.
And we're not designed to be passive. We are designed to be in action. I mean, when I'm a meditation teacher as well, and I
Uh,
will speak to that in relation to don't just like move into that passive place. I really think meditation is active because we have to actively receive what's coming, what we're experiencing,
Laura,
not just lying on our back and saying, "Oh, this is blissful."
Laurie, I love what you just said. I moved here to Delaware 3 years ago from San Francisco. Um, and I started a meditation session at the Newark Senior Center here in
Mm.
Delaware. And I just love, we get to, beforehand, we do a meet and greet with family, knowing what's going on and get into the things that are inside us that we want to get rid of today or
Mm.
whatever we're relating to that particular day. And then we'll do 20 minutes of silent meditation.
Mhm.
And I love it when people look in the window and you see a look on their face saying, what are those stupid people doing there, sitting, doing nothing? When what we are doing is the strongest and deepest
Mhm.
finding out who we truly are and finding out who we are at our core so we
Mm.
can then get into that point. And as I always say, you don't need to sit for 20 minutes during the week. Just remember what it feels like and be
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. It
Be
just
there.
a breath away.
A breath away. And amazingly, the decisions you make
Mm.
when you're in that space are going to be so much better than the ones you make from anger or resentment or disappointment or whatever. But to come to that space of oneness, I am.
Mm.
Take that deep breath. I'm looking at
Mhm.
you as you take that
Yes.
deep breath. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. I
So,
am so glad. And that's actually meditation is how I got into my experience, my near death
mm.
experience.
So we could say, I know you say it, that this consciousness what we're calling new consciousness in quotes, is really the next step in our human evolution.
Yes, hopefully.
What do you mean, hopefully?
Well, we don't have to. What if we didn't? What if we continue as we are?
Mm-hmm.
We have free will after all, right? We are able to think. We no longer follow instincts like lesser animals, like
Mm-hmm.
lesser evolved animals. So what if those in power tried for more power, and my power against your power, and will use these other people to do that? And we still have nuclear bombs. We still have ways to destroy the atmosphere. Look, Laura, look at the weather we are having
Mm-hmm.
in the world. I can't help thinking that, look, if there were a mosquito on your shoulder, you know, I know you love all living things, but you might want to flick it off, right?
I
Yes.
definitely would.
Yeah, definitely. Stop. Wait.
Yeah.
I can't help thinking that the weather we're getting is Earth saying, humanity, boom, get off my shoulders.
Mm,
Stop it.
mm,
Stop
mm.
it. We are getting things that we never had before. Earthquakes where there never were earthquakes. Do you know? Taken a look at it. A lot of the some of places that have earthquakes that didn't have them before are places where they have been doing fracking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
fracking,
Yep.
taking oil out of the land. Do you think that maybe Mother Earth had that oil in there so the tectonic plates could move nicely and oiled like rather than, you
Mm.
know, but we don't care because if we get that oil out, we can make money.
Right.
So
Right.
we're going to do that. Um, ooh,
So on the just shifting that
yes.
into the other side of that. So because both of us, I will say, easily, we're focused on spreading, not only spreading the idea, but hopefully spreading the experience of that.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so that being the oneness.
Hmm.
Yes, we each have our own unique expression, and that's essential because that's how we express the oneness in the world. And you had said earlier, it'd be really odd if we all liked vanilla and only
Yes.
liked vanilla and
Right.
only
It
expressed
would not,
vanilla.
excuse me, it would not be that strange though if we all like chocolate because chocolate's the best.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. But
yeah,
yeah, that's a different thing.
there's my weakness.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
So what we have though is we know the situation that's going on.
yes.
And if this is indeed the bridge into what's next or what's possible.
Hmm. Well, what is possible? Who knows? I'll tell you one thing, Laurie. It is very, very interesting. You remember when we were kids, they said seeing is believing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was. You know, if you saw something, you knew that's what took place.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true anymore. I saw a video of Dr. Martin Luther King speaking about something that took place after his death, right? You know that that was AI created,
Mm-hmm.
yet it was his face, his vision, his body, his voice.
Right, right.
How could you not know that,
Yeah,
that it was him?
yeah.
Except,
Except it.
so we have the choice. Now, do I believe that we can create a magnificent heaven on earth, if you will, the way it was originally intended? Of course I do. But I also believe that there are many, many places in the universe where there are life forms that have evolved to certain levels and have been given free choice. What if humanity decides to screw it up? Hey, you know,
Right.
hey, so we weren't there's this great story. There's this great story of the young Buddhist monk who's studying with the master, and he's about to go out. He studied with him for years, and he's about to go out in the field and do things on his own. And the master says, "Before you go, take this piece of paper with you and keep it." And he hands him this blank piece of paper. The monk says, "Yes, master, I will do that." Well, 10 years later, the monk is deathly sick. And as he's writhing in pain and mind, going crazy, he hears his master say, "That paper I gave you, eat the paper." And he crawls over to his little bag and he takes that old piece of paper, puts it in his mouth, and he wakes up the next day healed. And couple, year or two after that, he's back at where he started and he meets the master again. He says, "Master," he says, "you are so wonderful." He said, "Several years ago, I was dying. I felt so terrible. And I saw you and I heard your voice saying, 'Eat that paper.' And I did. And I was healed."
Mm.
And the master said, "That paper had an antidote on it. I knew that someday you would be poisoned, and that paper had the antidote that you needed to survive. I always knew you were the one." And he says, "Oh, thank you, master, thank you." He says, "But," then a thought hits him. He says, "But master, what if I would have thrown the paper away or lost it or now didn't have it with me or after all those years?" And the master said, "Then you would not have been the one." All right. This is humanity. We are at a point where we could take the next step and recognize that we are not separate leaves. We are one tree. And we are different because how boring it would be if we were all the same, but we are one. We cannot hurt each other. We work for the good of all. And if we do that, imagine what we can do together.
Absolutely.
If we choose not to do that, then maybe we were not the species. Maybe this was not the planet where heaven on earth was supposed to take place.
We have the choice. That
We
is our
have
free
the
will.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely, absolutely.
That's both a poignant and place to stop, place to pause, and it's also a call to action.
Yes, yes,
Mm.
yes. Of course, I'd like the action to be to get a copy of my book, do the exercises, puzzles, and spread the word.
Absolutely. The
You
next
know,
step in human
yeah.
evolution.
Yeah, I do believe, by the way, that when a tipping point is reached,
Mhm.
it will go over. You
Yes.
know, the great experience of the monkeys on the island that were washing the clams,
Hmm.
and then when enough of them did, all of a sudden on the next island they started washing them all. You know, that's where we are. We are at that critical
Yeah,
point, I believe,
I
and
believe it too.
and you believe so too.
I do.
So we do what we can, and we
And we
say,
keep on,
and we keep
we
on.
keep on painting what's possible and inviting
Yes,
people to be part of that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Anton Grosz, for a really remarkable life that you have lived and
Thank
what
you
you have
so much.
created here and what you continue to create.
Thank you, Laurie, and I think the same can be said for you. And I thank you for what you're doing and for spreading the word. Um, we each do our little bit and take it from there.
So, where can people find your book and where can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Well, I have a website, antongrosz.com, the Gross as in Sam, Z as in zebra.
Mhm.
The book is available on Amazon and so forth, and as a print book and a Kindle,
Mhm.
and another on places like that.
Great.
Not out in bookstores, but we'll see what happens down the road.
Well, here's the thing
Never
that
know.
people can go to a bookstore and have the bookstore order it,
Oh,
which
really?
will alert the bookstore to its existence. And
Ooh,
oftentimes bookstores then will say, "Oh, maybe we'll get an extra copy and see how that sells."
I like the idea. Thank you very
So,
much.
because I'm a relatively new author, with my latest book, I've been learning lots of things
Yes,
like
yes.
that.
By the way, you know, I love learning things.
Mm,
I'm 85 years old, but boy, I think one of my greatest skills is being a student. You
mm,
know, to sit at the feet of someone who knows something that
mm,
you don't, and to say, "Wow,
mhm,
how great!" I know there are so many ways, by the way, to find this what I call the jewel of truth,
mm.
the oneness within, call it whatever you want. The only one that you have to fear is the person who says, my way is the only way.
And that's when you know it's not truth.
That's when you know it's not true.
It
Absolutely.
becomes very simple.
Hmm.
Thank you again so very much.
Thank you so much. It's been my absolute pleasure.
Mm. And I want to thank our audience, our listeners, our viewers for being with us here today at Wisdom Talk Radio. Join us here regularly for more wisdom, discovery, and illumination. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review because when you do, that allows other people to discover what happens here, to discover the kind of wisdom, the kind of potentiality that is here. And if you want to know more about your own journey, go over to the Baca Institute and take the Quantum Connection quiz today. And then head out to your local bookstore or go onto Amazon or Barnes and Noble and get a copy of Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source, wherever it is that you get your books. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio. We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.